So my journey to diagnosis with my daughter's homocystinuria, she was diagnosed through the newborn screening. We received our first abnormal newborn screening when she was about a week old, and they had us retest it. The second one also came back abnormal, and we received a call from her metabolic specialist. So we had to go there within the next couple of days. We did additional testing, tested the homocysteine. They already knew it was homocystinuria, but they were trying to figure out which type and to confirm it. So we did additional blood work and did the genetic testing. So she was diagnosed at about 2 weeks old through the newborn screening. And she started taking medication when she was about 3 weeks old. So leading up to those 3 weeks, and that was 2 to 3 weeks is around the time that she was diagnosed and then started the medication, I thought she was a great baby. She always slept. There was no issue getting her to nap. So I attributed to her just being a really good sleepy baby. But then after she started the medication, I realized, oh, that's not actually how she is. It's because of the homocystinuria she was sleeping so much. And one concern I had, but others didn't so much, because they were more focused on the diagnosis, getting the medication, things like that in the beginning. She didn't gain any weight for those first 3 weeks. Now, within 1 week of starting the medication, she gained over a pound within that 1 week. But leading up to that, she didn't gain any. Like I said, she mainly slept, so I didn't get to see her eyes that frequently. So after she started the medication, she was more alert, and her eyes, I noticed, started rolling up. When she would try to stare at me and she couldn't, it's like she lost the focus, so they just kept rolling up. And that happened within a couple of days of starting the medication, where she started becoming more alert. And they were thinking it was possibly seizures. Now, by the time we were able to get to the hospital and get hooked up to EEG, that came back normal. But I've been told that it appeared to be seizure-like activity that occurred within those first few weeks. The not growing, no gaining weight, always sleeping. After the diagnosis and comparing to how she was after medication, I realized, oh, that was actually homocystinuria. It wasn't, she's just a tired baby type of thing, a good sleeper. So our day-to-day experience dealing with this disorder, caring for my daughter who has homocystinuria, we wake up, she has to have her medicine. It's been tricky getting her to take it, the Betaine, because it doesn't taste good. And it's hard getting a young child to take something that does not taste good. So there's been a struggle with that, trying different things, different foods, juices to mix it with. So we wake up, give her her Betaine, her Cystadane. I try to wait a little bit longer in the day, let her wake up for a couple hours. Otherwise, that nasty taste first thing in the morning, she's going to throw it up. So that's what we do. She takes that twice a day. We're fortunate not having to have as many of the additional formulas, but just finding the right time to give it to her where she's not too tired, too fussy, because if she is, she'll start crying, and then that'll lead to coughing, which will lead to her throwing it all up. So she takes it twice a day, in the morning and before she goes to sleep at night. So some of the challenges I experience with dealing with my child with homocystinuria, for one, it's getting her to take the medication, because it doesn't taste well, and she's almost 2 years old, so that's the struggle. And she's smart too, so if I try to mix with something else, she knows what I'm doing. She realizes it, after the first bite. She's like, oh, this is not what it's supposed to be, that you're trying to trick me. So that's one of the struggles. It's a lot of, making her take it, holding her down, making her take it. Also other, challenges, anytime you leave the house, or especially in the first year, she was taking the medication more frequently. So I had to really plan when I fed her, in a sense, because she wasn't a very big eater. So I didn't want to give her a large bottle if I knew I had to give her the medication a couple hours. So there was a lot of that planning, and anytime we went out, making sure we had a small bottle of formula and her medication so that we could do it when we're out, and then making sure she was hungry enough to finish that. She did take it when she was younger, but it was playing around with the right amount of dosage in the right amount of ounces so that she would take it at, as a baby younger than a year old. So that was a challenge. That's our whole first year. That was our main focus. Anytime we left, making sure we had, a normal bottle to feed her when she's hungry, and then a smaller bottle to mix with her medicine, because we couldn't mix it with that bigger bottle. She might not finish it. She has to finish her medicine. And so that was a lot of the challenges in the beginning, and now it's getting a 2-year-old to take it. And so we'll see. Right now she's doing a little bit better with that. Next week she might not. It changes daily. My biggest concern about homocystinuria, of course, is my daughter's outlook on life. How will she be when she grows up? Nobody can tell me, because she has severe MTHFR type of homocystinuria, which is one of the rarest types of homocystinuria. There's nobody to compare it to say, oh, when she's 5, she'll look like this. Or when she's 10, if she continues this treatment, this is how she'll be. So we don't have anything to really compare to. So that's my biggest worries, is what her outlook will be, because we don't have those answers. We don't know. We don't have. I personally have not spoke to another patient who's not a child, or a family who has an adult child, or I shouldn't say adult child, who has somebody, and someone who's a little bit older to discuss these things with. The other people I have to talk to, the children, they're about 10 years old, but they weren't diagnosed as early as my daughter was. So the ones who were diagnosed early through the newborn screening, who are doing a little bit better than the ones diagnosed much later, we don't know the outlook. I don't know if down the road will things catch up, the homocystinuria. She developing fine right now, but in the future, the high homocysteine, will it just overload her system? So that's what worries me most about the homocystinuria right now, is the unknown. My single greatest hope for my child's future is that she'll be able to grow up and have a normal life, a semi-normal life, because I'm not sure what that will look like. I hope that she will be able to grow up, go to school, go to college, do what she wants, travel, whatever it is. I hope that she's able to still have a semi-normal life. Right now, she's almost 2 years old. She isn't talking yet. She hasn't said any first words. Some things are delayed, like waving and pointing, some of those things. It was much later, in clapping, that she started doing that. And now the speech, she's not speaking yet. So I do hope that the speech, it does come, that she is able to go to school and thrive and, have a life on her own. So that's my greatest hope for her growing up. My greatest hope for the disorder is that a cure can be found. I do hope that some type or better treatment or a cure can be found for homocystinuria for all types. We have the classical cobalamin and severe MTHFR. So I do hope there's some type of cure or a better treatment where it's not this disgusting betaine that they're having to take, or something that can enable them to thrive essentially without having these different restrictions and things. So I do hope that through all of this, eventually we can have some type of cure. If I had one message to communicate, specifically talking about my daughter with severe MTHFR, is to never forget about severe MTHFR. Within homocystinuria, you have the classical, which most of it is focused on that. Cobalamin, they're starting to get more research for that. And then you have severe MTHFR, which is kind of off to the side. There's not much talked about that. So my one message is, don't forget about severe MTHFR. Another problem or issue that I've noticed with MTHFR is that there's these common variants, these polymorphisms that a great majority of the world has, that does not cause nearly as severe symptoms as what my daughter has. So if you ever Google MTHFR, you're going to get these polymorphisms. And I've actually had people reach out to myself and my family when I had the diagnosis that, oh, she'll be fine. She just needs a few supplements to fix this. Or people actually tell me it's actually not rare. So what I want to get out is don't forget about severe MTHFR, and I hope that there's education that they are separate. The MTHFR polymorphisms and severe MTHFR deficiency, they're too severe. They're on different sides of the spectrum. Severe MTHFR can be life-threatening. The polymorphisms, you still have it's not a large population has them, and it's so hard getting research started with severe MTHFR being as rare as it is. And I'm working hard to try to get things started, talking to people, as many people as I can. So don't forget about the little guys, severe MTHFR.